All right, hi everyone. I think we're finally ready. This is Amani Michael with Intuit Hue, and today I just wanted to take some time to share with you a little bit of cooking that I'm doing. So today I'm actually planning to go to a potluck at a sanctuary. For those of you who don't know, a sanctuary is a space for non-human individuals to find safe residence and to be free from exploitation. That's the idea. Taken into these spaces and provided all of their medical needs and their emotional needs, and really prioritizing their life experience and health free from systems of exploitation. So that's kind of an idea of what a sanctuary is. If you haven't visited one, you definitely should. Here in North Carolina, we have, I think, close to 5 sanctuaries now, and today I'll be visiting one of them for a potluck, and today I'm making a couple of things, so I just wanted to share that with you. My computer's over here, so if you see me go off screen, it's because I'm grabbing something or making sure that I respond to the comment section. So if you're watching right now and engaging via YouTube or via Facebook, feel free to send me any questions you have, any commentary, any thoughts. If something looks good to you, if something you have a question about something, or you'd like to, ask about any curiosity, this is definitely a space to do that today. But again, sorry for the delay. We had some technical issues. I tried to do an event, but I'm not super familiar with YouTube's encoding settings, so that was a little bit of a challenge. So I'm just doing some basic streaming today. Let's see, let's check in. I'm gonna check in periodically on the comment section just to make sure that I'm responding to anything there. So I'll be checking that right now, and we'll get started. Let's see. What Facebook too, just in case. Okay. Okay, so yeah, if you see me go off screen, it's because I'm checking messages, just making sure to engage anyone who comes in the room. Just want to make sure that everyone has a chance to engage. So that's where I am. I haven't disappeared. Yeah, just to reintroduce myself, I'm Amani Michael, and I'm here with Intuit Hue. And today I just wanted to share some plant-based cooking, some plant-based eating, some information on nutrition, since I feel like I haven't really talked in this space about my experiences since I transitioned to a practice of veganism. And obviously veganism is a social justice question and an inquiry process, an accountability process, so it goes far beyond food. But today I thought I'd share with you some of the things that I've learned. I don't really work with recipes, but we'll be doing something with a recipe today. But just sharing with you some of my process as far as how I've been eating since I transitioned, the types of things that I enjoy making. And I thought that today would be a great opportunity since I'll be making one of my favorite things, which is actually a coconut curry. So you'll get to watch me make that, and if you happen to have everything available to do the same, feel free to make your own or to do something similar. If you're watching afterwards, after the live broadcast has ended, then I hope that you'll be able to engage that way, and feel free to message with comments and put those comments below and ask any questions at any point. This space is for you to be able to engage more deeply with some of these questions around plant-based foods. So I think that's quite enough talking, and yeah, so let me just show you a little bit of where we're starting today. And again, I will be moving back and forth between the computer and this space just to make sure that I keep everyone engaged with questions. So here today I have everything laid out as far as what I'll be using. So I'll go ahead and walk you through some of those things. So since we're doing a curry today, I have several cans of coconut milk. I hope that you'll be able to see that. So we're using the coconut milk to really manage the texture. For me, texture is really important. I love eating things based upon their texture. Taste, smell can even be off sometimes, but the texture is what's going to keep me engaged. So I really find coconuts not that pleasing in other things, but for some reason, coconut milk seems to really resonate for me. So that's what I'll be using today. And I'll also be talking a little bit about how some of the choices I'm making food-wise affect the body, how they affect the spirit, and why I'm making some of the choices that I am. So we'll be starting with the coconut milk, which is a really heavy base, and we'll be mixing that in with water. It won't just be coconut milk. And today I have around 4 cans of this. Yeah, 4 cans of coconut milk. And I have chickpeas here. So chickpeas are very high in protein. Everyone always asks about protein. We're going to get to that. It's not a concern, but this is one source of protein in your diet if you're looking for that actively. But I love chickpeas. If I had to choose 3 foods, it would definitely be spinach, mushrooms, and chickpeas. So these are a favorite for me. And let's make sure you can see that. I hope it's on camera. Yeah, I love these. They are going to take a little bit of work. We'll do that together, and I'll explain what I mean by that in just a second. But just showing you some of the things I'm using today. I bought an onion. I hate onions, but we're going to go with it and try it out today. This is separate. So I have this 5-pound bag of russet potatoes, and I'm not sure how much of this will be using today, but we have this on the side. I'll probably be using a lot of it because it tends to work really well with the coconut milk's texture. And let's see what else. So we have a couple of carrots because I've been needing a lot of energy in my sacral and root and a little bit of solar plexus chakras lately, so I thought that I'd bring in some carrots. And we're going to try to get these to be not crunchy and not completely dissolved, but just a little bit soft and keep most of their nutrients, keep most of their texture. And let's see what else we have. So we have a couple other things. We have some cauliflower here. Hope that you're able to see. I'm seeing that you might not have seen those carrots, but we have some cauliflower here. And I am going to keep this more. We'll put this in a little bit later so that it does keep its texture because it tends to get soft very quickly. Let's see what else. We have mushrooms, my absolute fave. I will probably be cutting these in about halves and otherwise leaving the smaller ones entirely intact. And I love mushrooms. They're very earthy energy, very supportive for your root chakra, which is something that I struggle with personally. I really have an under-supported root chakra and find it difficult to feel really grounded in my body. So this is something that I really resonate with as a food item. And we also have some kale. What would... When you go to a potluck, you're going to see tons of kale, you're going to see tons of greens and different raw foods. Today we're not doing raw. That should be clear by now. We're going to do the curry cooked here on the stove in this pot, actually. I'm trying to make a large amount if we can fit it all. And so I have kale today. I'm not a huge fan of kale, but I'm hoping to put it in a little bit earlier and have it soften up. I don't quite like the texture generally, but I'm going to try to explore and see if we can get some greens into this while also bringing it in a way that I enjoy. So that's what we'll be doing today. So you see there are quite a few things going into the coconut curry. I have larger quantities than usual because I am making this for a potluck, so this is for a public event, and I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to enjoy this and experience this. So I have bought a good bit more than I usually would. You could make this probably for around $4 if you're mindful of your pricing, and if you choose an appropriate grocery store in your area. And the thing about this curry is it will very much hold up across time. So it's definitely going to stay for a week even. I wouldn't leave it out, but what I'm saying is it's a very like self-preserving sort of meal. So I find that it's not something you have to eat all in one day. You can make larger amounts and it's going to last. It's still going to taste pretty much the same. It's going to have the same texture. Everything is going to stay pretty much the same in that. So you can definitely make smaller amounts. It doesn't have to be this much, but this is what I'm starting with today. Someone sent me a recipe and asked me to make a cashew walnut dip today, so I'll be making that. That is by recipe. That's not something I've done before, but we'll have fun and do that. But this coconut curry is something I've done probably tens of times now, and I love it every time, and I'm hoping to share that not only with you, but with the people at the potluck today, and help nourish everyone's body and spirit a little bit, especially as we've getting ready to have a lot of rain, a little bit of dreariness, so just hoping to bring that spirit up a little bit. So let's see, where do we want to get started? The first place that we should probably start here is actually with the chickpeas. If you've never made chickpeas before, if you just dump them on the stove, right, and you start cooking them, you may have found that they stay very hard. And the reason for that often is because they have an actual shell around them. So part of the process of cooking with chickpeas is actually deshelling. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to find a bowl to start with. And yeah, if you're watching, feel free to invite others to watch also. I'm just trying to get some education out there as far as plant-based eating. Some of you have messaged me about wanting to transition lately to a vegan practice. And part of that does include food. It goes far beyond food, but I just wanted to share that with you as well. So I'm just going to post again real fast to let people know that we are live now, since it took a little bit of time, and we'll get started with the chickpeas. So stay tuned. Okay, let's see. All right, so first we're gonna need our chickpeas, and we're gonna start those first because they do take a long time to soften up, and they're gonna take a little bit, stream is just a little bit lagging, it seems. Yeah, we're gonna do these first because they are going to take a little bit longer. They're going to take some time to shell in the first place, and when we get them in to cook, they're still going to take some time. So we're going to get that in first. Let's see. So what we're going to do first is actually open the can. I'm going to walk you through everything because I don't want to assume that you know exactly how to do anything that I'm doing. I just want to make sure all the details are really thorough. So I'm going to try to talk you through everything I'm doing. So just opening this pan, and I'm going to drain off excess liquid. You can keep this liquid, you can use it in cooking if you want to. I find that it is a very salty, saltwater kind of smell. It's not my favorite thing. So yeah, I'm just draining off the liquid there. I'm going to open both hands at the same time. Yeah, I know that just graduated from university, and I know that a lot of people that I was interacting with did not know how to do a lot of different cooking. So that's in part why I'm sharing this video. Okay. Because after I transitioned, it got a lot more involved for me. Let's see if I can pull this back so that we can see. So we're just going to take these chickpeas. Let's make sure this is on camera. I hope so. Let's pull it back even further. Okay. So we're just going to take these chickpeas and pour them all in the bowl. And this is something that's going to require a lot of dexterity. Your hands are going to get a little messy, so just go ahead and accept that. I'll put this back for a second. Put this to the side. I'm going to take off my mala. So right now I'm just adding water to the chickpeas. Yeah, I'll show you. So right now I wish it were exactly lined up so that I could see what you're saying, make sure that everything's on camera, but I have this bowl here, and I'm just covering the chickpeas with some water. Okay, that's pretty good. And just making sure they're somewhat covered. Right now, we're gonna add some water in a little bit to get the skins off further, but right now we're just gonna start with this. So make sure to wash your hands. I already washed mine, but I'm going to wash them again. Okay, so now that we've washed our hands, we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. And what you want to do is take the chickpeas, and if you look very closely, you can see, oops, it popped one out. So this was previously on the chickpea, and what that's going to do is actually keep it from being able to cook thoroughly. So we're just taking these and we're pressing them, just pressing them between our fingers to get the skin off. And you can be kind of rough generally with chickpeas because you're going to want to get those skins off, and it does require a little bit of pressure. I've not found, if someone knows one, please tell me. I've not found a really solid way to do this quickly and to do it thoroughly. So I tend to just do it by hand and just sort of squeeze them. If they start to break into halves or they start to soften up a little bit, that's fine. You can go softer if you want to, if you have more time to take. I don't have a ton of time today because I started a little bit late. So I'm just gonna be a little bit rougher with these and make sure I get a lot of the skins off. You'll be surprised how many are left on the surface. This is why we really want to wash our hands, because this is almost like washing your hands and you don't want all of it in the food. Practice care for ourselves and the things that we nourish ourselves with and how we nourish each other. So let's just be healthy right now. Oh, these are coming off quite easily today. I didn't want to prepare anything before. Let me pull this back a little bit so that you can see. Make sure to keep it in the camera, just somewhat. I didn't prepare anything before getting on the cam today, other than soaking these cashews and walnuts. That's for the dip. That's separate. because I want you to be able to see literally from the beginning how you can start cooking like this, or integrate some of these concepts. So let's move this back a little bit now. So excuse my disgusting, I'm gonna wash that because it is really gross. Now this is not a pretty part of making this. So this is what we have right now. So as you can see, some of the skins are floating on top and making it a little bit hard to see the chickpeas. So what we'll do is we'll take some water. I guess we could potentially use a strainer for this. The way that I usually do it is just to take some water and just add more water, just add more water so that they start to float on top. And generally, if you have enough water, the chickpeas will stay on the bottom and the skins will start to come to the surface. So that way you can just start to skim them off. And I'm going to do this at the sink just to speed things up a little bit, but again, I'm just taking the skins out now. Now that I've separated them from the chickpeas, I'm just taking them off, and I'm going to discard them. Now, sometimes it can be a little bit tough to get all of the skins off because they are translucent somewhat, so it can be difficult to see them, difficult to pick them up. But definitely try to get out as many as you can because it really does affect the texture, and people eating your curry will appreciate it. Let's see. And there are just going to be some left that you won't be able to get, so don't fret too much. I just noticed that I said the word fret, probably for the first time in my life. Let's see. Let's get these off. When I first started cooking chickpeas, I actually would leave the skins on because I didn't know any better. No one had told me to do differently. And I'm used to using beans that, if I get canned beans, then I'm used to just using them out of the can without any preparation. But that is definitely not the case with chickpeas or garbanzo beans, depending on how you call them, what you call them. Let's get these out. Alright, so I'm starting to get to the end with mine. Okay, so now, let me wash this just a second more. Alrighty, so now you should see that there are some skins left on here. You do still see some, but this is pretty good. We can work with this. So what we're going to do is just take this right now and go ahead and put it in our pot. And this is the one that I'll be using. I'm trying to make a large amount today. I might put it in 2 separate ones, but this is what we're going to start with. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. And I like to cook on a high heat, so I'm probably going to be using a pretty high heat today. So we're just tossing these in. I'm going to put this to the side. So right now, all that we have in the pan is chickpeas. And what we're going to do is take one of our cans of coconut milk. Try to get cheaper brands, but make sure that the texture is somewhat thick, because sometimes they just come out thin and very, very watery. And it's really the more solid parts of the coconut milk that, let's see. Suzanne, welcome, welcome. Who else is watching? It says there's a couple people I can't see though. It doesn't give me names. But when you're choosing a coconut milk, you want to get something that, yeah, this one's quite nice. It does have a bit of the solids here, as you can see. And it does have some of the liquid. And this is getting a little bit warm. That's fine. I'm just going to keep moving the temperature up and down as I cook. And we'll just dump that right in. Just go ahead and get it started because we need these chickpeas to start cooking immediately. And yeah, try to get all of the solid out of here. And we'll go ahead and start mixing this. So right now, all that we have in the pan is just the chickpeas and the coconut milk. And I'm actually just going to add another can of coconut milk right now. I hope that people will also be able to watch this after the broadcast and gain a little bit of confidence with their cooking skills. So do not drain the water, this is just it's a liquid, but it's actually an oil. Don't drain that off. We do want to keep all parts of this coconut milk. And if the coconut milk looks like this, that's really nice. Hope you can see this. So the thicker the better generally, and do not drain it off because we want all of those fats to go right into it. And that's part of what also gives it a very root chakra supporting nature, this food, is the fat content, and it really helps to give it a fullness and a grounding. So this is just a very earthy kind of dish. And we'll put these cans in the same place. All right. So right now we just have the chickpeas and the coconut milk in here. I'm going to turn these on to pretty much get the coconut milk boiling, because I do want these to soften and I don't have a ton of time. Generally, this is a meal that takes 2 to 3 hours if I'm really taking my time and filling it with all the flavor that I want it to have. It can take 2 to 3 hours, and not all of that is active, like being very present with the dish, but a lot of it is does require your attention and to keep stirring and to make sure that it's not burning with the coconut milk or anything. So today we're going to do it with the time that we have and just see how that works. Real fast, I'm going to take, let's see, I'm going to take, someone sent me a recipe, so I'm going to jump over to that right now. So for that, we're just doing a lentil dip. So they provided some lentils, and I had these cashews and walnuts soaking. I just realized that I had probably not soaked enough. So I'm actually going to toss in more right now. I'm going to add some water. Leave those soaking. I'm just going to add in, let's see, where's the one I have? I'm just going to toss in the rest of these. And again, this is not for the coconut curry, so this does not go in the coconut curry dish. You could do some, why does this one say? That's funny, that one said cashews and this one says walnuts, but they're actually mixed. Yeah, you could put some cashews in this, and I've done that in the past and it's delicious, but because I'm going to the potluck today and I want to be mindful of those who are not eating nuts for medical or other reasons, I'm going to leave that out of the dish. so just to be considerate. But the dip that someone asked me to make, it's a central part of that recipe, so I'm just going to soak some more of these. There we go. Put this away. Okay, just keep stirring this. If you have a lid, I don't know where the lid for this is right now, but if you have a lid, it might help to increase the temperature and keep some of that heat in and cook the chickpeas more thoroughly. I can't seem to find the lid that I need, so we're just gonna do it open, and I've done that many times, so no worries. I'm gonna check the messages here on Facebook real fast. Let's see. Okay. So yeah, just getting that link out again, making sure. If you know someone else who might benefit from this, someone who's asked about transitioning to a vegan practice or just wants to know more about cooking or whatever. The reason why I'm sharing this here is one, because I love sharing my experiences, but two, because Intuit Hugh is really devoted to all types of healing, and one of the most mundane, the most daily ways that we support our own healing is through the things that we're eating. And they have a number of effects on our body, which in turn affects our spirit. So I just wanted to share this to be able to share with you some of the things that I do to support my chakras, to support my spiritual and physical body. And yeah, if you're interested in that, then you can ask more. Definitely post some questions. I would love to respond to that. And if you're just interested in cooking, then happy that you're here for that as well. So right now we have the coconut milk and the chickpeas in here, and that's really the most important thing. That's what's going to need to cook the longest. I'm going to go ahead and toss in some spices, and I generally go fast, but I'll walk you through what I'm using. So first I'm just going to add in some onion flakes, I guess, minced onion. And we do have the fresh onion, but I quite like these flakes too. More familiar with that. We're going to add in a little bit of garlic powder. It's a little bit for me. I don't know if it's a little bit for others. And we're going to keep going back in with the curry powder and just filling this in, filling it in with the flavor and really getting it full. We want a full, rich flavor. And as we are cooking this, we're going to keep adding the coconut milk, so I have to add some water in a little bit. Oh, it already smells delicious. And I'm not saying that like the commercials say that. This really is one of my favorite things, and once it gets a little bit fuller, then I'll bring the camera over, or bring the pot over so that you can see what it looks like. And if it cooks fully enough, I'll take out a bowl so you can see what that looks like too. So we're going to keep adding coconut milk and water to this. And as we do, we're going to fill it back in with spices. We want to keep the texture and the flavor very full. So adding spices back in as we're adding the water. And let's add some water now. And let's see, where's the cup that I'm looking for? Grab this one. So you can see I just have like just a cup. You can see the size of my hands. The thing about this dish and the way that I cook in general is it's very casual. You just the point of cooking for me is to make something that nourishes my body, or my bodies, my spiritual and my physical bodies. So don't stress over trying to get it to be an exact certain way. Try to make something that feels fulfilling for you, something that aligns with your taste and texture. What you find fulfilling, what you enjoy, what you appreciate. So that's where we are with this. The next thing I'm going to do is wash these carrots because they're super, super earthy. Just wash these carrots, and then I'm probably not. I'm going to wash these pretty vigorously to get off any potential dirt or anything that might be in here. And then I'm just going to try to cut it into circular pieces, and I'm going to toss those in. They're going to be somewhat thick, but I'll show you that process. So I'm just going to wash these. Okay. Can whoever's watching can you confirm in the chat or through some other means that you can hear the audio? I just want to make sure that it's working. Okay, so we've washed these carrots, and what we're going to do is just take our knife and our cutting boards, and I'm going to try to do this on camera too so you can watch along with me. You can never tell exactly what's in the frame, but so we just have our cutting board. It's just a small, cute little cutting board that I got at the scrap exchange, and then I just have this knife. This is the kind of knife that I'll be using. And first, I'm just going to take, I'll do one at a time so you can see that. I'm just going to take the top part off. I guess they're going to fall on the floor. I guess that's what we're doing today. I'm going to cut this in half just to make it easier to manage. I'm going to start with the smaller part and just cut it into just, circular pieces like that. Somewhat thick, but not super thick because we do want it to cook through. And I would say this is probably like 3 or 4 quarters. Is that how people measure things? It's probably about 1/3 of an inch thick. But who knows? I'm not so skilled in measurements, but this is how we're cutting this. And carrots really are going to be super supportive for your sacral chakra, helping to regulate feeling and to allow sensitivity and understanding how to manage that. Please be careful with your fingers here. Definitely don't want to get hurt on camera. Don't want you to get hurt at home. And if these turn out to be a little bit too thick, what I'm going to do is cut them in half again so that it cooks all the way through, because we don't want it to be too dense. And we're just going to take those and just drop them right in. You see, it's a pretty casual dish. The main thing is just getting the chickpeas in there so that they can start cooking. And then from there, you want to just arrange the ingredients. Put the ingredients in as for me, I put it in regarding the texture. So what's the most dense and what's going to take the most time to cook? That's what I'm going to put in first. And then after that, I'm going to put in things that I don't want to overcook. Like broccoli, for example, I would put in midway or right at the end. I wouldn't put that in early because it'll completely dissolve. If you don't believe me, try it out. It's strange. So I'm just cutting this carrot, and the carrot again is going to be super great for your sacral chakra. And I also feel that it can support. It supports the lower chakras in general, but it also feels like it supports the throat chakra. That's just my intuitive sense. So if you are needing attention in any of those areas, then it's a great choice. And I'd say really what connects those two is just the ability to express honest and authentic and sincere feeling. And so how is that connected to a carrot? Well, you have to think about how it's connected to your body and the things that your body needs and responds to. And as you support your body, you'll also be supporting your spirit. So that's the way that I cook. And just mixing in more of this curry powder. What I'm going to do real fast, because I keep forgetting about it, I'm going to toss these lentils into the slow cooker. I don't know how slow of a cooker it is, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put this like this. I'm going to toss these in. Let me check the recipe actually. This person sent me this, so I just want to be respectful of how they wanted it cooked. All right, let's see. So, okay, so we're looking at 2 cups of lentils. Honestly, that whole bag is about 2 cups. And I'm going to add some water to that. I'm just going to add another cup of water to the slow cooker. We'll see how that one turns out. I've never done this one before. We'll just cook the lentils that way. Leave those in. I'm not going to spice them yet because I don't really know what direction to take that in. But you can be sure that I am going to spice this coconut curry. Just grabbing these off the floor that fell. Okay. So we right now have the carrots in here. We have one of them in here. It's looking kind of full with the carrots, so I'm actually going to wait. No, I'm going to take both actually. I'm going to put both in. So I'm just going to do the same thing that I did with the first carrot and just cut the tip off and then just do circular pieces. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. So you see that this is kind of a dish that you can just take very casual, very relaxed like, and just put in what makes sense to you. This is what I felt when I went in the grocery store. A lot of times I like to put butternut squash in this dish, which has some similar properties to the carrot. I'm just tossing these in. Nothing special here. Just very, very simple. Just tossing a lot of things in. And let's add the potatoes now because that actually will take some time to cook as well. So I'm just going to grab a couple of these out of here. Now let's grab. We're probably going to need 4, honestly. So I'm going to get 4 potatoes. These are quite large. So I want 4 potatoes in here. Actually, I don't think I did. I'm just going to do 3. That might even be too much. I have a hard time measuring a lot of times. But these are just the plain russet potatoes. And yeah, I'll tell you about the properties as I get them in there so we don't wait too long. So I'm just washing the outside of these. Okay. So I'll just keep stirring this. Don't over stir it because it'll take a while to heat out. Just let it build. You can keep it on boiling pretty much the whole time. So with this potato, I guess I'm just gonna take and chop it into. I'll show you. I just usually cut it in half, and then I'll take. Can you still see this? Then I'll take one of those halves and cut it in half, then lay it down in half again. Maybe do on the sides here to get it into 4 pieces. That way, and then just cut very like free form, just getting all kinds of different shapes. And I'll show you some of the shapes that I have here so that you can see some of the variation. So I'm not greatly focused on how these look, how they are shaped, not trying to get them equal. I'm just trying to get them into pieces that will cook through. So you can just take them, let's make sure this can be seen on the camera. Yeah, just taking these pieces and yeah, however you want to cut them, just make sure that they're not too big because they can take a long time to cook in the middle. And you might think on the outside when you touch them that they're cooked, but that's can not be the case. So again, just cutting laterally. Just take it very freestyle, like allow yourself to be in the process of cooking and to not be stressed. Don't bring the stress into the kitchen. You can relieve it here, but definitely don't put it in your food. Definitely don't feed that to others. You don't want to put that in your body. So just come into the space ready to create, ready to witness, ready to notice the things that your body is responding to and what it's not. This is about you. This is your space to experience how you nourish your body. I'm just tossing these right in too. So right now we have the coconut milk, we have the carrots, we have potatoes, and we have the chickpeas. Be careful with your hands here. And you might want to do some larger pieces with this because you'll find that as they cook down, some of the outside, some of the surrounding parts of the potato on any side are going to dissolve a little bit and really add to the thickness of the curry. But so you can have part of it cook away, and if your potato pieces are too small, then they'll actually disappear. So if you want to keep some potato in there, then maybe make it a little bit larger. This is starting to fill up some, so what I'm going to do is actually just add more coconut milk and water. Let's see. And again, if you're watching live right now or you're watching later, either way, feel free to send a comment below. If you're live right now, you can put it in the chat, but if you're watching the broadcast, I don't think the chat is available. So just put it in the comment section, and I'll still respond, and we'll talk. Figure out how to get you cooking, things that feel nourishing for you. Or if you're attracted to certain foods, you know, why am I attracted to, what is it about tomatoes that keeps coming back into my mind, you know? And maybe that your body is needing something energetically, nutritionally. So just trust that process. So I just added some more coconut milk, and I'm going to add another cup of water, maybe 2. We're just going to do 1 cup for now. And when I say cup, I'm referring to this glass. I'm not referring to a measured cup. So this is the standard. Should be about the same. Yeah, so we got this going. I'm going to check on the lentils now. See how they're cooking? I'm using a separate spoon because I want to be mindful of mixing what will be with cashews and the nuts and all of that. I want to be mindful of that and keep it separate. So I'm using a new spoon. Just gonna mix these. They seem like they need some more water, so I'm just gonna add some more real fast. I think for the lentils, I'm just gonna add a little bit of chili powder. So I have some chili powder here. I'm gonna put this in the curry too, but this feels like it'd be nice. I'm just gonna add that. And cooking isn't just about the specific whole ingredients that you choose. It's also about what kind of aromatic experience does it bring, you know? Just fill it up with things that make sense to you. Explore, give yourself space to explore. So I'm just adding this chili powder in here as I think makes sense to me. And I'm gonna go back and add a little bit more of the onion flakes, and I'm gonna add some more of the garlic powder, some more paprika, some more salt, some salt, and a bit of black pepper. And cayenne. Lovely cayenne. So, just to tell you about some of their properties, cayenne is super spicy. It's very warm, so use it minimally if you're not familiar with it. This will definitely get your root and sacral chakra active, potentially overactive, but I find it to be pretty well balanced. And let's do some paprika. I don't really know what I feel about paprika's properties. I don't quite understand it yet, but it's been resonating for me for a while now, so I just keep bringing it back into what I'm making. And we'll do some salt. Grinder doesn't want to let me out. We'll start there. Keep adding. We'll taste it a little bit later and see. Let's see what that's coming to. So this is actually coming out pretty watery right now. And if you're concerned about that with your curry, then what's the time here? Yeah, if you're worried about that with your curry, just remember that the potatoes are going to add a starchy quality as they cook down, as they dissolve, as you stir them. So it is going to seem different. And this curry's texture will also be different when it's cooled or cooling than when it's cooking and boiling. So you just have to be mindful of that change. Just a little bit of onion. We'll do some black pepper to add, again, that earthy quality. That's what we're going for. We're not using like lemon, for example, which might be more of a third eye, throat chakra sort of airy, light, or zingy type of energy. We're using earthy things. We're going to use some cumin in a second. I don't think I added garlic like I did, so just do something like that. And yeah, I'm going to add some more chili powder. I hope everyone enjoys this tonight. I know that I will. People tend to respond really well to this dish. It's my fave. I always put a lot of care and love into it. Okay, so I don't see anything on Facebook or in the chat, so I'm just gonna keep going. If you have questions, if you're watching and again, at any point, feel free to comment below, feel free to put it in the chat. Let's talk, let's figure out how we can support you more fully, how we can use food as a form of nourishment for you. And if we don't have any questions, I am going to talk a little bit today about things that I've learned since transitioning to a vegan practice in my own life, the things that I've learned. It's been 4+ years now, maybe close to 5. So I've had quite a few experiences with it, and would love to share that with you. We do have something showing on Facebook, so one second. Okay. So, yeah, let's just keep mixing this. It's starting to get very full now. I can feel as I'm moving the spoon, like there's some resistance, which is nice. Today, I'm drinking just this pink grapefruit Italian soda. I quite like it. And if any of you live in North Carolina, maybe near the Triangle in North Carolina, feel free to come over sometime. I'd be happy to cook for you, especially if you're transitioning and just wanting to learn more about how veganism could be implemented in your life, and you're asking all these questions about, how can I understand how my choices are affecting other systems, whether it be non-human individuals or the human individuals who are impacted by traditional food systems. If you're curious about that, if you're trying to look at how non-human animal justice is related to Black justice and to indigenous struggles and to these forms of thriving, how we can find thriving in these communities and in our ideologies, in our language, come over. Obviously, I have a lot to say about these things. I would love to talk with you. And I would love to feed you too. So I love cooking for others. So just let me know. I'll probably be leading some classes in the near future. But right now I'm just trying to feed myself and feed others who just want to feel nourished and taken care of. So that's what I'm here doing today. This is delicious. Let me show you this. This is what I'm drinking. So this is a pink grapefruit Italian soda. I don't know what it is about it. It's just so tasty. But this even has black carrot juice. That's interesting. So even this has carrots. I'm just really responding to carrots right now a lot. This is super tasty. You should grab some if you have it accessible. Okay. So what else do we have here? We have these lentils cooking. Let's check on that. So the lentils are feeling like they're starting to soften. We'll go ahead and put this bag away. What else? So we have onion here. We have more potatoes. I'm honestly not feeling. Yeah, let's add one more potato. Let's do that. Let's get it in there quick so it has time to cook. Again, just cutting it in half. Can't quite see that. Oh, hey. It's hard to see from all the way over there. Welcome. I'm glad you get to see me cooking. I was thinking about you watching this earlier. Get to invite you. You've seen me cook a lot of times, but perhaps not recently. While I was living in India, I was cooking like pretty much every day, several times for the person I was there with, and had a number of skills that I didn't have the whole time at university. So maybe you'll see something new in what I'm doing today. But right now, just to update everyone, we have the chickpeas is what we put in first, and then we added coconut milk to allow the chickpeas to cook and start to soften. And we put the chickpeas in early because yeah, we wanted to give them time, and we also took off the skin. We took our time to put them in water and get those skins off so that they'll cook fully. Be mindful of my fingers while I'm talking. And then after we put the coconut milk in there, we put several cans of coconut milk, and we'll continue to add as we want more liquid. Then we do carrots next. So we just cut the carrots into circular pieces. After washing them, we currently only have, no, we put both carrots in. We want to put those in too because they're a little bit more dense, and we want to give them time to soften as well. And then next we added potatoes, so that's where we're at right now. And we've been adding spices along the way. I think I'm going to stop there with the potatoes because it's getting to be a lot. So I'm just going to set this to the side. And check this comment again, it's hard to see all the different numbers. So I used to cook chickpeas without taking the skin off myself too. And after like 5 times, I was like, I have literally cooked these for 6 hours. Why are they not softening? Like, they don't have the texture that I'm looking for. And one day I just was like looking a little bit more closely, and I was like, wait, there's these translucent things floating in the water, and I'm like, what could that be? So I just realized, I was like, oh, these actually are covered. They're protected. So you have to, if you want to cook them that way, you have to take the time to put them in water, really press the skins off. You have to be quite firm sometimes, depending on the brand or how long they've been soaking or whatever. Though I found even soaking them does not release the skin automatically. You still have to go in and work it, and then adding more water so that they'll float up to the top and you can separate them. And since I've been doing that, the texture is so much more creamy, so much more full. So definitely would recommend doing that. But it took me forever. I don't know why people don't talk about that. Not that I'm part of huge cooking communities, but no one had told me that. So I'm just going to keep adding spices. I've been adding chili powder. I'm almost out. I'll have to check in the pantry for more. This does consume a lot of spices just to keep it that full. I'm adding paprika again. We're good on black pepper. I'll just add a little bit more. Just be liberal with this, you know. Let's add a bit more salt again. And then after this, we're going to taste it to see where it's at. But there's so much liquid in here that it can, I like to keep returning back into it because the liquid can take a lot of the flavor out, even if you feel like you added a lot already. And there's a sweetness to the coconut milk usually. So just to counter that somewhat, you want to still, I appreciate tasting the sweetness of the coconut milk, but I also appreciate tasting the other flavors. So if you want to have them be more balanced, then you definitely want to keep adding the spices in and keep it full. Let's check on the lentils again real fast. I never use a slow cooker, but I'm just going to do it by taste and texture to see when those are cooked. Alright, so what we have next are the mushrooms, and that's what I'm going to put in next because it's getting to that place where these will need time to soften. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the same thing that I had the chickpeas in. And I'm just going to take and toss all these mushrooms in here. Just going to open it up and toss them in here, even the ones that I already had open. And it smells strong. let's see. So I just have these mushrooms in here. Some of them have not been washed at all. Most of them I don't think have been washed. So I'm just going to take these and I'm just going to wash them and try to make sure I get any dirt or anything, any soil. Sometimes they come literally like packed with soil. So just to get that off. Okay. Oops. All right, so now that we've washed these mushrooms, I'm going to take the larger ones and I'm going to cut them into smaller pieces. Usually just have, sometimes I'll cut them into fours or something. What am I feeling with this today? I might actually cut most of them into 4 pieces, just sort of like on the side. Let's pull this back some. I really want you to be able to see even if it's zoomed out. So what I'm doing is something like that, where some of the pieces get to be a little bit thick, but then some of them are going to be kind of thin, and just keep this shape. That's what I'm doing here. And we're just going to toss those in as we cut them. These already feel somewhat soft, so they probably won't take that long to cook. So we'll probably measure by the potatoes and the chickpeas to see when things are ready. Keep tossing this in. Now, I love mushrooms. I find them to be probably the only thing that keeps my root chakra at all together. Pisceans people with a lot of Piscean energy tend to have very unstable or under-supported root chakras. And that's in a lot of ways because it's because of how we see the world, it's because of how we understand our body in the world. A lot of us don't very much identify with our physical bodies. And the reason why we're so dreamy, a lot of times, or drifting, is because we don't identify with physical reality so much. We definitely identify with the spiritual or emotional truth more deeply, with dreaming and imagination and those types of things. So I find that some mushrooms, which are also kind of alien, right? They're kind of a strange sort of thing with a weird texture. The way that they grow is weird. It's almost like a dreamy quality to that as well. Something spiritual to that effect. So I find that this is very supportive for my root chakra. It's one of the more earthy things that my body very easily integrates. And honestly, when I transitioned about four, almost 5 years ago, I think it's almost 5. When I transitioned, I liked to cook a little bit, but I really didn't know what I was doing at all, which was that's fine. Still trusting myself in my process. But what I'm saying is I didn't take the time to really experience food in a full way. A lot of the things that I was eating were just traditionally how they had been prepared for me, or others were cooking for me, or I was just cooking just the same way that I'd always done it and processed it. So I really wasn't processing it personally. And when I transitioned, I was cooking for myself a lot. And even if I wasn't cooking for myself a lot, I was paying more attention to what was going into the things that were being prepared for me. And I started to learn more about the nutritional properties, to learn about how they work together, which is something I really had to never think about before because food was so accessible. Just literally anything that others would consider food, I was considering food. And when I started to reconsider and say, oh, you know, actually things taken from others' bodies, not food for me. That's not something I want to participate in. I don't want to be eating anyone's body, anyone's corpse, anyone's flesh. I don't want to be eating things taken from their bodies. It's not for my body. It doesn't belong to me. So then I started looking at, you know, well, what do I eat? What do I eat? What do I put in my body to nourish myself? And very quickly started to learn about a lot of these things that I just never had to think about before. Nutrition, how it affected my body more deeply, how it affected my spirituality. So lots of learning since then. Let's see, I'm not going to put all these mushrooms in here because it's feeling like a lot. I really want to, but I know others don't like mushrooms the same way I do, so I'm going to leave them out. I am going to leave them out. And what else? We have, the last thing we have here, we have some tomatoes in a can. I don't know why I bought it in a can. It's a very strange thing to do, but it made sense to me in the moment. I have those tomatoes. I don't love to put tomatoes in this, but I'm going to put a few. It's not my favorite thing, but that's something I am going to do. And what else? We're getting to the end with this, or closer to the end. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the rest of the coconut milk and start working on the kale and get that in there. Let's check these lentils. Okay, apparently that's a very slow cooker. Yeah, let's get this coconut milk in here. No. Let's do the kale first. Yeah, let's do this kale first. So, kale is, I would say, supported for the throat chakra, supported for the third eye chakra indirectly. I would say for the heart chakra, it feels like it's just resonating in this area. Definitely could be supportive for your root chakra, but I think if you, mainly if you are asking it, if you know, you're putting it, as you take this into your body, you're asking for it to be integrated more deeply, then I can see it being supportive for the root chakra. But just by itself, that's not something I see it resonating with. So I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to wash this and just kind of vigorously as well, and then we'll take this apart together and put it in. I am going to take out part of this because there's someone I know who doesn't eat leafy greens, not because they don't want to. They also identify as vegan and eat very fully, very whole foods, but I think there's something health-wise for that. So I'm going to separate out part of this and keep it cooking on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and start heating that up. Oh, not the back one, this one. So go ahead and start heating this up. Make sure it is clear. Just rinse this out real fast. Uh-oh. Hold on, I'm not using this one because that feels wobbly. I don't want that to break. Okay, so just going to toss this on here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to wash the kale now just to get that ready. And I'm going to transfer some of this over here. Trying to figure out how to separate it out, but still have everything I want in it. So I guess I'll go ahead and put the coconut milk in here, then do a little bit of spicing again. Oh, this pan is all to pieces. So we'll do that. Toss this in. Yes, it's very thick. Cool. Love that. I want to bring the camera over here so you can see this. Yeah, you haven't been able to see it for a second, so let's go ahead and let you See, and that will put a bit more paprika in. And some of the curry powder as well. Oh, that's getting warm. I can hear it. So let's see if we can get the camera a little closer without causing any problems. Can you see that? Is that any better? Hold on, I'm just going to pause a second to see what you're seeing because there's a little bit of a lag. Yeah, you can see that somewhat, but maybe I can pick it up for you. Let me see it. I'll just pick it up really fast for just a second. Oh, no, that's what's about. We have to use, let's use some actual hand protector things. 1 second. Pretty colors. So many pretty colors. So I'm going to pick this up. Whoa, it's hot, hot, hot. So this is what we're looking at here. So we see the mushrooms are floating in. As they cook more, they're going to go down to the bottom somewhat. They'll integrate more. And we have the carrots in there, which are a very nice color. We are going to add a couple of the tomatoes. Let's see if we can just pick up some. I'll get a bowl out in just a second so you can see it. That would be nice. Okay, kale. Let's see. I'm going to move this back just a second. I don't exactly know where it was. But I'm just moving it back because I want you to be able to see me preparing the kale and washing things and cutting things. So maybe at the last part of the video we will, I don't know, yeah, see what you can see for a second. Maybe at the last part of the video we will just focus on this and what we can see here. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get there, let's finish up, and that's what we'll do. This is very full. So let's see, let's add in some more cayenne. We'll taste it soon and see what that's at. But let's go ahead, as we've been saying, let's go ahead and get this kale washed. I'm just going to wash this by hand real fast. I'm going to take, it's a lot of water now in this. I'm going to take this and where are the mushroom things here? So I just put this in with the mushrooms. It's hard for me to think about how to separate things. But if you've never worked with kale before, you can see there's a middle stem here. I would really not include that. You may speak with others, maybe others who love to eat raw and they really want the whole plant. I struggle with the texture of kale already, so I'm really not thrilled at the idea of bringing in something with an even tougher texture. I find kale to not really want to break down already. So what I'm going to do is take the leaves and just pull off away from the center, so you can see I just pulled off from here. And that's what I'm going to do with the rest of the plant, leaving the stem, just leaving that. And I'm just going to toss it back in with the mushrooms. There. Okay, so as you can see, this is just how this is what I'm going to leave to the side. I believe that dogs really like this, and also broccoli stems. So if you have a pup nearby, then maybe give this to them. I think they like the texture. I think rabbits also really like this. Amani, I do not like this, so don't bring it to me. I don't have a use for it, but maybe I'll leave it to the side. I'm getting ready to go to the sanctuary today, so some of the residents there might actually enjoy this a lot more than I would. So we'll save that, put that to the side. And we'll just do the same with the rest of this. Just breaking it off some. I think now I am going to transfer some of the curry over to the other pot. It's not a pot, it's just a skillet, I guess. So yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand that everything you put in your body really directly affects your spirit. It really does. Everything that you put, I think people don't even understand how much it affects their body, but especially what you're eating long term represents different energies in your spiritual body too. It can facilitate traumas, can facilitate all kinds of difficulties if you're not paying attention to what you're working with. So let's see. I'm going to, I think cauliflower should be fine. So I'm going to put that in first, then transfer. Yeah, if you're looking at your spiritual life and your emotional life, a lot of times people will look to, what kind of relationships do you have, or what's your self-care practice, or all these things. But what they don't include in the relationships and self-care practice is foods and how we nourish our bodies, or the ways that we treat them, the way that we're exercising, the way that we're overexerting them. All of these things can affect your spiritual body as well. So here is cauliflower. I expect that most people are familiar with this. The white broccoli. But what we're going to do is we're just going to wash this kind of gently, a little bit vigorously, and then we'll see. I'll show you what we'll do from there. Hey, welcome. Can just see you popped into the chat. Now, I don't know how long you've been watching. I guess everybody can still hear me. I don't know how long you've been watching, but today we're just doing a coconut curry and a lentil dip that someone sent me a recipe for. The coconut curry is my own process. It's not a recipe, but I never do it the same way. But yeah, we've got some things in the pot already that have been cooking for some time. We're getting ready to add this cauliflower, and which feels really supportive for the crown chakra. I'll talk about that in a little bit more in a second. But we're going to add that, and then we're going to separate it out, and then just introduce kale, and we'll pretty much be there with this. Yeah, that's where we are. So let's go ahead and break this. What I'm going to do is just break off pieces. I know where to start from. It's going to be messy anyway I do it. So just to crack it off like that, just here, trying to be mindful of not mixing things. And so this is just a piece of it. And what we're going to do is just take other pieces of it off like this. And this is what we're going to use. This is what's going to go in the pot, about this size. It might break it into half. No, I'm not going to break it into half. This is about the size that we're going to use. So I'm going to toss those in. Who else likes cauliflower? I don't like it by itself. It's been a while since I've had it. Maybe with some nice hummus or something. Maybe with a lentil dip, I would like it. But I'm not there yet, so I tend to just put it in other things. But yeah, I feel like this would be supportive for the crown chakra and probably the throat chakra again. So if you're struggling with any, especially throat issues or any upper body, general upper body, respiratory, that kind of issue, this might be a really good way for you to go. I'm going to save this as well, in case any of the sanctuary residents, human or non-human residents, will want that, they'll have access to it. Okay, I'll throw this away. This does not look edible. I don't know, does someone have, I think there was some jalapenos in the other recipe. But I don't see jalapenos in the fridge, so I don't guess that's coming into this. Yeah, this is really starting to thicken up. The kale is going to add a really nice green touch in here. Let's get some more reds in here. We really want to bring this down. You know what we're going to add? Let's add some cumin to this. That would be really nice. Couldn't find it for a second. So I also found, let's add the cumin first. Oh no, this is not going to work. Let's gotta get it out. There's a lot of it. Now this can have a bitter effect in foods, I find. It has a grounding effect, but it can quickly get into that. Just like it's bitter, it's too much. So we're not going to use a ton of that, but we do want it to be present. This is my favorite thing to make, really. I love this. I love making this. And if you watched since the beginning, or you've been watching along, I'll see a couple of comments. We'll check that in a second. It has been a very casual process. You know, we haven't been doing a lot to, you know, this has to be at this time, or we have to cut it this way, and we have to introduce these ingredients at this time. We have general principles about. It smells amazing. I wish this webcam we cast smells as well. Yeah, it's not a strict process. We have some general principles about how we want things to soften over time and integrate into this. Like the potatoes now are really starting to dissolve some and integrate that starch, that thickness and the creaminess into the curry. So we have things like that, but we're not super concerned with things being in a specific order. So it's a really approachable dish to put together. Add some cumin. Not here. Not here, not today. Which part is an interesting turn? If you want to see an interesting turn, I also picked up what in the pantry? Cinnamon. We're going to introduce some cinnamon into this. I love adding cinnamon to the curry. And we're going to take this a little bit light because cinnamon will also burn you up. We just want to bring it in to add some sweetness. This is one of the only things that we're going to introduce other than the cauliflower, which really has that light property. Oh, actually, I think I'm not taking this to the sanctuary. I'm just going to eat it myself. No, we'll take it so everyone can enjoy it. And I'm sure others are going to bring some amazing things too. Let's see. So, almost just burned myself. So we have. Just do a little bit more curry powder, which now feels light compared to the cumin. And let's do a little bit of a taste soon. I'm going to start transferring over some. use this plastic to move quickly because this is very hot right now. Let's take that off for a second. So that's super hot. So that was really warm, but that's fine. The coconut milk can burn sometimes, but overall it's going to be fine. And we're just going to add some water back into both of these to add some more quantity. It won't take too much from the spice profile we have. But you will want to be mindful of water, or even adding coconut milk in sometimes can really throw things off. So just be mindful of that. Do some taste testing while you're not so familiar with this, and really just sense it as we go. So now we have these separated. I'm gonna I should be able to see some of this. So this is, you can see this. I don't know how much I can get this up. You can see carrots, the mushrooms, the potato, the chickpeas become really full together. I'm just going to hold this to make sure that you can see it. Yeah. I don't know how much clearer to make that. I'll bring the camera over after I get this more full. But let's see. So we have. Let's add some more cauliflower. Let's do that. Where's that? I'm gonna add that to this one, but the other one we'll just leave it with less part. And I'm really making, that's hot. I'm really making that quantity for just one person, pretty much, and maybe one other person. So it is going to be a smaller quantity. And we'll go ahead and start turning this temperature down, because we want things to start coming together a little bit more. And everything should pretty much be cooked through by now, with the exception of the cauliflower. The kale is going to be fine on a lower temperature if it costs more time, and we'll just leave that to really have it all come together. So we're just going to take these leaves off like we mentioned before, leaving the center part for pups and rabbits and others. And we'll toss this in this one. We're not going to put it in the other one as we mentioned. And this is really going to balance out the colors nicely, so, because colors are a resonance of energy, which affects the spirit and the body, the physical body and the spiritual body. This balance of colors will also be a balance in their spiritual energies. So this is something that can more easily nourish different parts of the body. Let's go ahead and mix that in. It's not going to cook down quite as much as something like, this is really looking nice. It's not going to cook down quite as much as something like a spinach would. Oh, that really burns me. Yeah, I'm really feeling this kale today, especially if it's going to cook down to be a little bit softer. We'll add some more in. So just turn that one off. It's cooking hot, hot, hot. Okay. All right. in there. I'm gonna add more water to this just to increase again the quantity. I'll make sure there's enough for everyone, while being mindful of not overdoing it and taking out the flavor that we brought together. Okay. Yeah, this is looking really, really nice now. So we can start, let's check on our lentils. Somehow they're actually feeling harder than they were before. Let's go ahead and open this. Let's set this to the side now. Done with that. Let's go ahead and open some of these tomatoes. Again, I don't know why I bought canned tomatoes, but that's the choice I made. And I've never used these before, so I'm going to check them before. Let's see, just open this. Yeah, I'm going to get this water off because I don't want to be adding just any liquid to, like if I'm adding water, I want it to be very intentional, but I don't know what the flavor profile of this the tomato juice is going to be like, so I'm going to pour that off. I could keep it. Yeah, I think I'm just going to discard it right now. But you can also keep the juice and use it in something else. I'm not going to use the juice because I don't want to just add a ton of water that could really change everything that I've worked on so far. So we're going to drain this. Okay, and there's not a ton of liquid, so we'll just pop out some of these. Oh, pop out some of these tomatoes. Can you see this? Don't know. Let's pull the camera down some just to make sure you can. So yeah, here we have this tomato, and I'm just going to do very somewhat small pieces. Just toss those in. I don't want a ton. I do feel that the tomato could really undermine the depth, particularly in the way and the length that I'm going to be cooking it. I don't want to add a ton of that. I want it to take on the properties of everything else. I don't want it to go the other way. And I honestly think that's going to be enough because I really don't want it to take away. So be cautious there. And with another spoon, I'm going to stir this one over here. Let's go ahead and taste this. Why don't we taste this now? Get an idea of what we're working with. Let's see. Chop, chop, chop. That burned me. That burned me well. Is anybody else going to some event today? What's everyone doing? Is that a comment? Kaylin! We are having fun. I'm having a lot of fun sharing this, and I'm excited for the people who get to watch right now, but I'm also excited for the people who get to watch later, because this will be on the Intuit Hue channel, so you'll be able to watch it even if you are missing the live broadcast. Let's go ahead and get some of this out. The kale is going to be entirely different, so we kind of just have to disregard that somewhat. But here's some of the colors that we're looking at. I hope you can, I don't know how to, you can see how hot it is too. Can you see this? I don't exactly know how to get it in the, I'm just going to hold this until I know that it's in the frame. Yeah. Okay, so the curry. Let's go ahead and taste this. Why am I using a flat spoon? That doesn't make sense. It's not even a spoon. So I would say right now, it may look like we're getting like right to the end, but I would say that we're actually around 60% with the curry as a whole. We're going to leave it to cook on a low temperature to bring everything back together and really integrate all as one. All as one. That's one dish, one people. Let me grab a fork or something. Let's use a spoon. Let's use the spoon. So this is what we're gonna do. And bring the camera up some. Just gonna bring it down some so you can just see directly in the bowl. Sorry, I don't understand how the camera angles work. But this is what we've got here so far. So we've got the kale a little bit. We have the mushroom. We have the cauliflower, the carrot. I don't know if this is at all visible, so I'm just gonna, I'll show you near the end once everything has cooked a little bit more. This really looks beautiful. This really, really does look beautiful. I'll be posting a picture of that, and I'll bring the camera over in just a minute as we finish up here. So let's go ahead and taste it. Yeah, that's just going to evolve. The thing that I love about this is that it does evolve directly in the taste as you're tasting it. It changes its flavor profile, the texture profile, depending on what you're chewing on, right? The general texture, it's going to release some of that water as the water boils off. We're going to increase that a little bit actually, and really get down to the fats, leave the fats in there. That's what we like with this dish. And the flavor profile not only changes in your mouth as it evolves in there, but it's going to evolve here too. As you leave it, after you finish cooking and you leave it in the fridge, it will continue to integrate more. It's just a really fantastic dish overall. So I'm going to leave this for some time, and we'll talk some. I'm going to show you that, and then we'll talk some. But right now I'm going to taste this some more. That's nice, and I haven't really eaten much, so I really just want to keep eating this. But we're going to let it cook. What does everybody else like to cook? What kind of things are you into? People are going to love this, I can tell them. And if they don't, then I'll just have a lot to bring back home, which would not be the worst thing either. I'm getting lost in this. This is delicious. So I just started both of these, and right now, after eating the whole bowl, a little bit that I got, I'm gonna say that it definitely needs more salt for the average person. The thing is, when you first taste it, you're just gonna get like the overall impression, and then after it's been in your mouth for a second, like there's this like the complexity of the different spices that we brought in, and then after that, I would say there's like a major like spice, like the fire. You feel the fire, and then which is going to be mostly the cayenne. And then after that, there's like the sweetness left over. So the sweetness from the coconut, and a little bit of the carrots. That's coming through after, and that's really the spice, like the fire, and then the carrot or the coconut sweetness. That's what's going to be left as the last flavor. But I really want to augment the first part of the flavor with the salt and see if there's a couple other things that we could add in to really complement that. But I'm going to say that most people would say that just need salt. Perhaps not vegans. We're more inclined, a lot of us, towards eating more raw and whole foods with less oil and less salt than the traditional diets. But since this is going to be a public thing and I want to make sure that everyone enjoys it, I'm going to add a little bit more salt because people tend to respond to that a little more fully. I want to really complement that with other spices, but I want to make sure to give this one attention too. So I'm going to add some salt in there as well. Being mindful of how much I'm adding. Yes. So as that water is cooking off, you see that the dish becomes very thick. I am going to, I think we're good here. Let me just check out the lentils one more time and then we'll probably bring the camera over. Oh, I forgot the onion. Let's see. Do I want to do this? Let's cut this and see what it's like. We'll see. I never use onion. I'm not a big fan of onion. Looks delicious. It is delicious. I wish you were coming tonight. I'd love for you to have some of this. Maybe I can save some or make it again sometime. I'll just cut this. I just want to get inside and see what it looks like a little bit real fast. I'm just going to cut a chunk out. I know that this is not how most people cut onions, but I'm just trying to see what it feels like. I do want to add this, so I'm going to take part of the skin off and cut that out. And again, I've never really been inclined towards using onion before, but this is something that spoke to me while I was in the store. So I'm going to honor that my body was feeling drawn to it. Did I have greens on here? No, so I can put this on both sides. What I'm going to do is try to cut this into some strips. Oh, let's bring this back into the camera again. Sorry, I got out for a second. I don't know if you can see that still. I'll pull it down some more. I wish I had some fancy camera that would know when I needed it to be up or down, but this one does a good job, so I'm not ungrateful for it. So I'm just doing some, I never cook with onion. I don't know precisely how long this is going to take to cook down, but I'm going to do some sort of like thin strips to get an idea. I'm just going to toss those in. To do some small pieces. I'm going to do some really thin pieces in the one that's already over here because it's already getting so fully cooked that I don't know how much longer it's going to have that it can cook these onions, so I'm going to keep those minimal. And then here we'll add some more. And I don't feel that these are going to take a ton away from the flavor profile. So I'll probably stop about right here because I don't really, not super familiar, so if they don't cook down really fully, then I don't want to have ruined a lot of what I've already done. So just take that and toss it in, just toss it in, mix it up. This is really nice, honestly. Honestly, this is very nice. So if you're not super familiar with cooking, especially plant-based cooking, we will be doing more videos like this. I say that every time we do videos, because I'm really trying to build a lot of different types of resources. And I know that not all of us are coming from spaces where we've been taught how to use these tools, how to use these ingredients. So we'll be doing some of that. I definitely see food as a form of healing. So we will be exploring that further. Okay, let's get you over here so that you can see what's going on. Can't get you extremely close, but we're going to get you, we get a nice shot of my forehead. Let's see. Let's pull the computer over just a little bit so we can move the camera more too. Let's see either of these. So this is ruining these colors, this camera, but let's see if the light does anything. The light makes it look even worse, I think. So what we have going on here, let me turn this so I can see it while I'm over here. Okay, so what we have going on over here, as you can see, let's grab this bowl, the dripping. This is very, very full. I don't know if that's in the camera. I'm just going to hold it again because I can't tell what's in the frame, what's out of the frame. Yeah, that's in the frame. Okay. So you can see that we have the potatoes, the chickpeas, the spinach, or not the spinach. I'm always thinking about spinach. The kale, we have the cauliflower and the carrots, all of these things, and they're starting to become really integrated all together. Really all of their flavors are blending. I have no idea how to keep this in the frame. So that's what we're looking at on this side. And let me put that down for a second. If you see over here, this one almost looks like a gravy. Can you see that? Can you see this one? This one almost looks like a gravy because so much of the liquid is cooking off and just leaving, you know, this creamy, full of fat type of residue. And this is what the curry is going to become like. Ideally, this is what it's going to, how it's going to come together as a whole. This is what we're aiming for. But as you can tell, the lack of, let's get the camera back here. The, how was this before? Yeah, the lack of green in this one really has a different feeling, really affects the energy of it differently. I do not know how, yeah. You can tell though that the lack of green here really does affect the energy and the profile and everything. So I really love including some sort of green in this dish, whether it be spinach. If I were gonna do spinach, then I would throw that in very last. Like, I'm talking like last 10 to 15 minutes last, like maybe even less, because the spinach is gonna cook way down and it pretty much will disappear if you leave it in for too long. Same for broccoli, but these are the types of greens that I would bring into this. And so this is what we're looking at right now. Let's just add a little bit of this again to get a sense of the flavors. I'll drop this in this bowl. This is going to get very hot. I think there was a couple of comments. Let me look here real fast. Okay, so yeah, this is mushrooms. If you didn't see just a second ago, then we have currently potatoes, we have chickpeas, carrots, the kale, cauliflower. This is such a game trying to remember all these. There's a couple of tomatoes in here, like very small ones, not big tomatoes because I don't want them to take away from the profile. And we do have mushrooms, and mushrooms are integral to this type of curry because they're going to fill it out with that depth, that sort of earthy flavor. So mushrooms are definitely in here. I will not be making any curry without mushrooms, so that's definitely in here. This would be good with a bread. This would be really, really good with a bread. The way that I usually serve this is to take some sort of rice. Let me grab the ones that I have here. Actually, I think I moved my rice from there for some reason. But what I would do is take some sort of basmati rice or jasmine, I think, or just any rice really, just a white rice. I tend not to use brown, but I think that could be really nice. The reason why I wouldn't want to use brown is because this is already so heavy. This is already a very earthy and full type of thing. Though, if you were thinking of preparing lunches, brown rice might be really nice because it's going to be filling, super filling with the way that these textures and flavors are coming together and the ingredients in here. It's going to be super filling. So brown rice might be really nice to take as a lunch and have like a very small amount is going to fill you up and you're going to feel very supported. It's not a high energy kind of food, right? Like this is not a food that I would eat before exercising or like preparing to exercise, or even if it were in the next couple of days. I don't know that I would use that to increase my energy levels overall and my endurance. But what it is going to do is give you a very grounded feeling in your body. And one thing that I would also add to this probably is red lentils. I didn't add red lentils today only because I forgot, but I would add this in here for sure, any day, because it's so much aligned with the other textures and colors that we're working with. But if you cook it over the length of this, then it's probably going to disappear pretty much entirely, which could be nice if you want to add to the thickness. But if you're trying to get the texture of lentils otherwise, like individual lentils, then I would probably add it in at the midway point, where I added things like the potatoes. I would add it in at the same time as the potatoes. Like a Brazilian dish, I think most people associate this kind of cooking, I think because of the curry, with India, but honestly, yeah, I mean, I resonate with Brazil a lot. I've spent time living in Brazil, and I loved the types of food. Let's see. I'm going to turn this off because it is getting too cooked down. Yeah. I'm actually going to have to add some water back into this one, I think. So that's just taking basically all of the water out of the curry and just leaving the fats. And so it's starting to look more like a gravy. And we want to keep that gravy texture, but we don't want to get to the point where it's looking bubbly and like blotchy. That's not what we're looking for. So we're going to add some water back in to this one over here. And just a little bit because, yep, you have to be mindful of how it takes the texture to a different place and the flavor profile to a different place. But that's pretty good. That's about where we want to be with this. So I'm just going to cook that up just a tiny bit more to get it integrated with the new water. And over here, we're just going to let this sit. This is what this does over time. We leave it. This is why it takes a long time. Usually I wouldn't be talking this much. I would just integrate all these different ingredients and then I would leave it. So this is this is the end point, I guess. This is where we get to. That sounds super nice. That sounds super nice. I would love to have some spinach today. I do have some in there. I just didn't really feel spinach as much as I was feeling kale in here today. And since I never want to eat kale, that really, I wanted to honor that and just go with it. So that's where we are with this. Over here, we still have the lentils cooking. We haven't done much with that. Honestly, I'm probably going to do this off camera because I've never done it before and I'm going to taste how quick these are. And this is for a different dish. So as far as the curry, we're pretty much there. These lentils are going to need more time. I'm so hungry. Looking at this food, smelling it, putting it together, it's one of my favorite things to put together, but it gets me hungry. I'm going to try to stave off eating too much of it until we get to the potluck, which is only about an hour and a half away now. This isn't a ton, but it should be enough for everybody to have a little bit at least. So yeah, as far as this curry, if you're trying to make this type of curry, then you're really just going to need to get some coconut milk. And I would say I wouldn't do 50-50. I wouldn't do 50 coconut milk, 50 water. Like I wouldn't do half and half parts. I would probably do 2 parts of coconut milk to each part of water, if not even higher for the coconut milk. The water really does take a lot of the flavor out, and the coconut milk cooks down as you get the water out of both the water part and the coconut milk part. As you get that water content out, then you're really left with a nice fat, a nice sort of gravy, creamy texture. So that's what we're looking for with this. That's what I'm looking for with this. That's how I designed it. And to support that, we do usually use a green of some sort, so spinach, a broccoli, a kale, anything that you feel makes sense to you. And we're working with potatoes usually. We can also use butternut squash. I put carrots in here today. I didn't use butternut squash today. You can use carrots like I did today. Lentils are nice. You could even do some other types of lentils. I think the red lentils, because of the orange hue, really fit nicely in this dish because this is a dish oriented around the root chakra, the sacral chakra. Hey mom, come on and you can come in, it's fine. But I like to use the red lentils because it really responds to the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and sometimes the solar plexus. So I find that super supportive, but you can use any thing that you think makes sense to you. The mushrooms, again, are kind of critical because they have that deep earthy quality, so that really pulls everything rooted together. So we're pretty much there with both curries, and again, I'll just show you. I'm gonna taste this to know where we are with that. Let's see. I love eating on camera, as some of you have noticed. Honestly, that onion is barely cooked in what I got out, and it's delicious. It's a really nice fit. It adds a lot of sweetness, and yeah, there's like a deep magenta hue to that feeling. It's really, really nice. Mm. I'm gonna add more paprika. I'm gonna add more cayenne. And I'm honestly going to say that I think we're there as far as this. I'm just going to leave it to cook for another however long I have time for. That's usually how it works out. And just leave it. This one's pretty much ready. I would not cook off, let me show you this one. So for this one, I pretty much cooked off a lot of the water content. So you're seeing the formation. Let's make sure this is on camera before I express all of this. Yeah, so you're seeing the fats here sort of separate, right? And this difference in the oil, and it doesn't look like when we started, and it doesn't look like this one here. And we want to sort of get to that thickness, but if you heated this up, it would look like that again. So it's totally fine where it's at. Just to give you another look, this is where we are with this. And that's pretty much a good place to be. This is what it's going to look like if you had it in the fridge for a couple of days. But when you heat it up, it's going to return to that fullness. So, yeah. I'm going to take about 10 more minutes here, and then I'm going to close the broadcast because we're really at the end with this. This is where we wanted to be. We got here, we did everything that we needed to do, and the flavor profile, the texture profile, everything is pretty much in order. So we're going to go ahead and stop soon, but right now, if anyone has any questions about general plant-based cooking, my experiences with that, I'm going to talk some on that, but if someone has questions that could guide me, I welcome those, and I would love to speak with you. This is not on my face. Yeah, I would love to speak with you about how you could integrate plant-based cooking and nutrition into your own life. If you're trying to step away from eating things taken from anyone's body, I totally support that, and there are hundreds of resources, different organizations that are committed to this particular goal. But I'm also particularly concerned with how these foods affect our spiritual bodies as well, and how they relate to things like trauma and our relationships. So, if you want to know more about that, you can reach out to me. You can write in the comment section, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Feel free to email us at intuit.hue@gmail.com. You can message us there, and we'll answer any questions. We also would be happy to set up a consultation to help with your healing and your wellness through food. We don't have that directly set up, but if you wanted to set up something like an energy healing session for that particular purpose, we'll get you taken care of. So just whatever you need, let us know. We would love to help you with your goals. So here we are with this. Again, just going to keep leaving that. This is pretty much how we're going to take it to the potluck. When we get there, we'll heat it back up so that the liquids and oils and everything come back together somewhat. And you do not have to worry about super preserving this. You can leave it out on the stove. I don't recommend it, but I'm saying it can be done. This preserves extremely well. I wish I had more of this. I really wish I had made more. This does preserve really well though, so you can take it for lunch, you can take it for yeah, just pretty much anywhere you go, even if it's unrefrigerated, it's going to hold up nicely. Let me check the comments. Yes, yes. Yes, please pull it together. It's super easy to do if you know a couple of things, like how do I interact with the chickpeas. These are super creamy right now. They're delicious, but if you had left the skins on them, then you would have something that's almost like a soft rock, and it's not ideal at all. So just knowing things like that are challenging just because they're not made widely accessible for whatever reason. But as far as putting this together, it requires very little skill. You turn this on, You cut things and you put them in there. And you stir. Not too much stirring, but you stir. You've seen how much I've been stirring. It's quite easy to do. So definitely try it. Let me know, and you should definitely come over because I would love to cook for you and tell you anything I can about my experience and my process that would help you. I'm really, really wanting to help others transition at all points. And I love giving my energy to helping others who are trying to do that. So you let me know, and if you know of other people, let them know that I'd be happy to help. And I don't eat organic. I have a lot of thoughts about organics right now because the idea of things being natural and natural being the best choice really just doesn't hold up for me philosophically, and it's not resonated with me personally. I think there are certain things that maybe make more sense as organic, but I think the way you know that best is by responding to your body and listening to its short-term and long-term patterns, the ways that it's trying to speak with you. And actually, it's interesting that you asked about trauma afterwards, because trauma is a form of your body's, both your spiritual and your physical body, speaking to you about the types of things you need to bring attention to. So, if you find yourself attracted to certain types of food, or really repulsed by other types of food, then that probably, not in a direct, like, oh, if it's about your throat, it's about your throat chakra. Not necessarily. It could be in other parts of your body, spiritual or otherwise. But there are relationships, is what I'm saying. There's relationships between the types of colors you're attracted to, the types of textures and scents that you're attracted to. They all get integrated into your body. So just being mindful of that can really help you feel more whole and feel more supported and really rework trauma. It may not be, if you're struggling to let go of a relationship, it may not be that you haven't worked out the philosophical and the mental part of it, right? But how does your body understand that trauma, and have you helped heal it from that trauma too? Because it will keep recreating that trauma and that experience until you respond adequately to it. So everything is very much connected in that way. Let me check the comments again. So you could actually bring butternut squash, the cabbage, and the tomato into this. I would say with that, maybe it's going to turn out probably a lot lighter. And I would say that probably has to do with some upper body chakras. The throat chakra is really, really violated in the United States for various reasons. Through people lying to each other and just not being able to trust each other's word, or people using harsh language to undo each other. As a form of aggression and violence, or just being silenced. This is a very silencing space, even though people talk about liberation and being independent and personal freedom and agency. There's a lot of silencing that happens in our cultures in the United States. So the throat chakra tends to have a lot of violence and trauma in it for pretty much everyone that I see. So I think that that would be a really adequate way to respond to the throat chakra and whatever traumas you might personally have in your spiritual and physical bodies. Am I intuitive? I think everybody's intuitive. I don't think that I know that. I feel that everyone's intuitive, but not everyone gives it trust, and not everyone gives it time to build skill, to really feel what they know and feel that out. I do give that a lot of space myself, so I do identify with that. Yeah, things, we know what's best for us, we just have to listen. I'm going to turn this off because it's starting to get overcooked. So this is where we are with it. I'm going to bring you in just one more time. And I'm going to take a picture of this because it looks amazing. Let's go ahead and grab this spoon. And I will bring the camera over again a little bit closer. Let's bring this down. And I'm going to pause a second to see how this looks. Okay. So this is where we are. And just to show you again how this looks. Let's get some, I want a little bit of everything. Let's get a nice sample. So if you look at this, where's the ending? I need to study up on this. But I'm going to hold it here and see if you can see that. But if it's within the frame, then you should be able to see it's just full of carrots, full of the cauliflower. Got a thick creaminess to it now, which will continue to develop as we let it cool down. The onion and the kale has now been pretty much integrated into everything else. And the chickpeas are there, right? Adding a little bit of soft, creamy texture, but a little bit of resistance. So really everything has come together really nicely. I'm very excited to share this with everyone at the potluck. So let's go ahead and just put that back. And yeah, we'll start getting cleaned up so that we can go to the sanctuary. And I think I'm going to make the other, I can never tell how this is. I'm going to go, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, I'm going to do the lentil dip off camera, so I'm getting ready to close this. So if someone has more questions, it's tasty. Tasty AF. It is tasty AF, and yeah, it's just been 3 years. Nobody gave me a recipe. It's been 3 years of trusting myself to feel and to engage with what makes sense to me food-wise, which is the way I handle all of my life. So yeah, it's turned out, and I'm really excited. I'm gonna add just a little more water to this side because it has been very, very light now. So yeah, once you make this curry, the way to take care of it is it's going to take care of itself, so don't worry about it. But if you do want to worry about it, then just do keep it refrigerated, minimal, like you could probably go 2 or 3 days without refrigerating it. I think because of the high the spice content, particularly the cayenne or something, I don't know, it just feels like the spice preserves it in some way. That's what my experience has been. So you can refrigerate it, you don't have to worry about it, and when you want to heat it up again, you can do microwave. I would suggest heating it up on the stove again so that everything comes out evenly, so it's not just like, I don't know, that feels like a more invasive and aggressive way to heat it back up, but it's fine. There's no problem with that. If I were going to do it, I would optimally choose to put it back on the stove so that everything smooths out again and it's not so separated. So that's what I would suggest. I'm going to close this in about 5 minutes, so if someone wants to ask some questions, I know that I said I was going to speak some on my experience with plant-based eating, and I think I have somewhere in this 2 or so hours now, but I'm running out of time because I have to get to the potluck, but I also don't want to take up too much more space in one video. There will be other videos talking about plant-based eating and how we can approach these things. If you're just tuning in now with the broadcast, go back and watch the rest of the video when it's uploaded. I think DVR is already available, so you can even go back right now and start watching it. Yeah, there'll be much more to come. I've made raviolis before, I've made different cakes and things, so there's lots of different things that we can bring together. I'm also working on body products with natural food ingredients and really crushing the dyes myself here in this kitchen. So lots of things that are food related and body related coming up. So if you missed out on anything, don't worry, there's going to be more to come, and just because it's not in this video doesn't mean that you won't find it here. We're trying to include all these resources, so ask questions, get engaged, stay with us. We'll be sharing lots of information. So I'm going to check on these lentils one more time. They're starting to feel cooked. Starting to feel cooked. We do have these cashews and walnuts here on the side. What we're going to do with those, I'll just tell you what was in the recipe. It's online. But I think we're going to take these lentils and blend them up. I'm not going to use a food processor because I'm not super familiar with those. I'm just going to use the blender. But blend it up with these cashews and walnuts, and then I think there's a couple of spices. I don't see jalapenos here, but that was included in the recipe. So I think that's going for a very spicy, cashew-based, almost cheesy, almost refried bean kind of feeling. So that'll be going to the potluck too. If you're going to the potluck, awesome, and you get to taste all these things. If you're not, come hang out with me in North Carolina or wherever I happen to be when you're watching this video. I'd be happy to cook for you and share my experiences with you. But I think I'm gonna check the Facebook one more time. Let's see. Let's see. Just making sure that no one has asked a specific question. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to close up the video now because I have to clean and get ready and everything. I just want to make sure everything's all prepared. But thank you so much for watching this. It's been a real pleasure. I've never done a food demo or anything like this before, but I really enjoyed this and sharing this with you. So I will definitely be doing more in the future. Maybe invite some other people to help me come cook and share their experience, share their healing. Yeah, thanks for joining me. Thanks for taking time with yourself and really holding space to honor your body and your relationship with your spirit. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to find healing. So stay tuned. Please subscribe down below. Invite others to the channel. Please like this video and definitely come back to check in because we're uploading things as we have them. So I'll be uploading a video about gender and my experience with makeup very soon. It's already recorded, but I just have to do some editing. It's not a live video. So yeah, check in with that. Check in, let me know if you need other resources. Please comment below and tell me what you thought of this, if you tried it, if you've made it, different things that you've had plant-based wise, different foods. If you're transitioning into a practice of veganism, let me know. Let me know if you identify as a Black vegan, queer vegan, anything. We just want to build community here. So let me know what your experience is and what you're thinking, what you're feeling. So yeah, this is Amani Michael with Intuit Hue, and thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you being here. I'll see you.